foot along the faded linoleum. I deserve that, I guess, but it's true nonetheless. I'm back in Echo Ridge to stay, and I work here. Laney had never wanted to come back to Echo Ridge, the place where she was supposed to marry her high school sweetheart and raise her children. She'd turned her back on all of them, running after Dane and his sugar-sweet promises. She had Oliver, and there was no regret there, but she wished she could undo other parts of her past. Billy opened his mouth at the same time Paisley breezed into the shop. "Oh, hello, Billy. I'm glad you were able to make it in." She flipped her long brown braid over her shoulder and smiled. "I see you've met Laney. She and I were just talking earlier about how nice it will be to have some storage space. It's really nice of you to take this on. I know it's not what Red Built usually does." Laney nodded, wondering if Paisley could pick up on the tension emanating between them. If she did, she chose to ignore it. She took Billy's arm and steered him toward the back wall while talking over her shoulder to include Laney. "Carlos has helped me in the past, but he's swamped and was kind enough to mention you." "I don't mind," Billy answered. "We just poured the foundation for a new home by Ruby Mountain, so my crew can handle things for a few days." "Wait, who is Red Built?" Laney asked. "It's my company," Billy answered. "Located here in Echo Ridge." His words had an edge to them, and Laney caught the underlying jab again. "That's marvelous. This town needs good construction companies. My parents mentioned how much it's growing, but I didn't believe them until I came home." She winked and was rewarded with a look of surprise from Billy. The bell over the front entrance rang, indicating a customer. "I'll help out front," Laney said. She walked away, knowing that just like old times, she'd been able to throw Billy for a loop. She had a genuine smile when she reached the customer. 20 minutes later, Laney finished an impromptu arrangement that Mrs. Tumnus needed for the library board meeting. The flowers were to celebrate Jennifer Staples finishing her degree in library science. Laney had seen her working in the young adults section of the library last time she went in. Once the silver-haired lady had exited the shop, Laney headed to the back to see what help she could offer Paisley. Her stomach clenched as she approached the area where Billy had been working, but her nerves unwound when she discovered he wasn't there. "Looking for Billy?" Paisley poked her head around the corner. "He took some measurements and he won't be back until tomorrow night. Strange thing, that. Originally, he'd planned to work all day tomorrow to get the project done, but suddenly he was too busy to be here during regular hours." Paisley arched an eyebrow in Laney's direction. Laney shrugged. "That's probably for the best, don't you think? Then we won't be tripping over each other." Paisley snipped the end of a red rose and handed it to Laney. "They say every rose has a story, and when it's given in love, the story is about the person who receives it." I hadn't heard that before," Laney replied. "But you're the expert when it comes to flowers." Paisley nodded and handed another rose to Laney. "True, you've only been here a couple weeks, but you have a gift with flower arranging if you let yourself see it." Laney looked down at the 2 roses, their buds barely beginning to open and spiral outward with velvet petals reaching toward the light. She lifted them to her nose and inhaled. "Thank you." Paisley handed her 3 more roses. "If you'll add those to the Hyatt's funeral arrangement, I'll help you finish up." Laney nodded and walked over to the refrigerated unit that held several arrangements for the funeral. Winston Hyatt had been her 7th-grade science teacher, and although he was in his late 80s, it was still hard to come to terms with the fact that people Laney had grown up around were dying. Those precious years of her childhood held magic, memories, and so much discovery. Every person in Echo Ridge had played a part in raising Laney Richins. Even though she tried to convince herself it wasn't true, she couldn't help thinking that the best years of her life had been wasted, and she wouldn't get a second chance to make the right choice. She didn't want to waste the chance this town was willing to give her. Everyone in Echo Ridge had opened their arms to the Laney they remembered, even if she was no longer that girl. Everyone except Billy. Chapter 2. Billy pushed his foot down on the gas pedal as he sped away from the center of Echo Ridge. He would rather have walked through a hornet's nest than discover that he would be working next to Laney Richins. High school was